CBS News political contributor Mark Leibovich is in Washington. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Matt, good to be here.
So how do you expect this to play out? Any real suspense today?
Well, I mean, look, these things always play out pretty much as planned, which is that the voters on November 8th, or the Electoral College on November 8th, voted for Donald Trump to be its next president. That's usually affirmed when they all meet in December, i.e. today. I mean, the one caveat here is there's been a lot more noise leading up to this than there typically is in these situations. I guess there's some doubt that maybe there's actually more to it than just noise. The other thing is, look, I mean, every prediction, every expectation, every bit of precedent with the 2016 election has proven to be faulty, to say the least. So, this election certainly has not lacked for twists and unexpected turns. So there's always that lying out there. But no, my expectation, and I think most people's expectation, would be that Donald Trump is going to be affirmed as our 45th president today.
But Mark, if a handful of faithless electors don't vote for Trump, how significant is that?
Well, it depends how many of them there are. I mean, if there's more than 36, we'll have a new chapter to all this, and it could be very, very messy. I mean, so far, I've seen very little evidence that, yes, I mean, besides a few voices that might be pretty disjointed, that there's any real movement in play here. But again, I mean, this is the electors, and the Electoral College is a bit of a mysterious institution that I think a lot of people don't know a lot about, and also they tend to vary from state to state, and you just don't know what the dynamics are. So look, if there's enough of them, they could wreak some real havoc on the election and on the country.
Then what rationale are they giving for switching their votes? We've heard some say that they feel that he's unfit to be president, but what else are you hearing?
You hear some say that they need more information as far as what intelligence agencies know there was a movement to be briefed. There are some who have spoken about how he has not disclosed things that most presidential candidates, almost all recently, have disclosed, like tax returns, things like that. Just basic information. Then obviously the somewhat extraordinary nature of Donald Trump's campaign could, in fact, elicit some kind of extraordinary measure on the part of the electors. But again, there's no proof that there's any kind of critical mass there.
Mark, as the Electoral College votes, we're learning both the FBI and the CIA agree that Russia helped Donald Trump win the election. His transition team, they're downplaying that conclusion and instead demanding evidence. Is there any advantage for Mr. Trump to continue to doubt the findings of the intelligence community?
Well, yes, because, I mean, there's an advantage to him because the intelligence community seems to not be terribly, split on this, or at least as split as was thought a few weeks ago. It sounds, the reports are pretty uniform that the FBI and the CIA seem fairly convinced that the election, the Russians, did want to make an impact and did want to interfere with this election. They obviously were successful of that. There's less consensus, but still a fairly, pretty strong majority that among intelligence officials that Donald Trump was someone that they wanted to win, that the Russians wanted to win. So in so much as this continues to be litigated by Donald Trump, the waters just are very, very muddled. And in so much as it's debate, as long as this is just sort of sitting out there, it will continue to cast doubt on his presidency or on his election. I think they're probably thinking, especially after today with the Electoral College voting, that eventually this will die down, the debate will die down. But again, there is a debate on Capitol Hill, and it's pretty impassioned, and will probably become so, even more so, about whether to actually appoint a select committee, which could actually get even deeper into the weeds on this. So we'll see how that plays out.
Well, what do you make of the bipartisan calls for that special election investigation into the allegations then?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on the nature of the investigation. I mean, the sweep of it, I mean, who has the jurisdiction? I mean, John McCain and Lindsey Graham have been the two most vocal and high-profile Republicans calling for a select committee, which would seem like a pretty elaborate and perhaps independent body looking at this. There have been other calls within the Senate. Mitch McConnell has said that he wants more information, but who would have jurisdiction? Would it be a Senate committee? Would it be someone under the auspices of the Republican leadership in the Senate. So there are a lot of variations there, but people like Marco Rubio, again, McConnell, and a number of other Republicans have been on record as saying that they want more information on this. So in so much as that will give this story a life of its own, or will continue to propel it into the future and beyond January 20th, I mean, it seems like a pretty good bet.
If McConnell continues to push back, any way to change his mind?
Probably the way to change his mind is if there is a lot of Republicans in the Senate and some kind of public outcry demanding more answers. I mean, again, right now, at least as far as the Republican senators who are vocal on this topic, it's a fairly contained group. But again, I mean, as soon as the Senate gets back in session after the first of the year, we'll see if there's more momentum for it, especially if this debate continues through the inauguration.
All right, Mark Leibovich, always good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Meg. Always fun.